everybody, welcome to the Jim Masters Show Live. It's so cool to have you with us, and we welcome you from wherever you're watching around the world, our international audience of lovely viewers who tune in because they want to be entertained, they want to have a good time with us, and we always learn something. This is our Entertainment Lifestyle Talk Show series. We started over 370 episodes again, live daily, 7 days a week, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, right here on our YouTube channel at Jimmasterstv. As a matter of fact, we invite and welcome you to subscribe to our YouTube channel, show it some lovity, and click the notification bell so you don't miss any of the exciting content that we have here on our show. Not only do we do these incredible episodes of the Jim Masters Show live, but we also have Masters Mantras. The Masters Mantras are these visual and verbal inspiring short videos that we do. They're kind of, I guess, like TikTok videos, but they're on our incredible YouTube channel, Jimmasterstv, where we are, of course, bringing back the lost art of conversation right here on the Jim Masters Show Live. Sort of taking the old school way of doing talk shows where we're sprinkling in entertainment, inspiring conversations, but also with a warm and welcoming approach, conversational approach as well, and mixing it in with a modern vibe of today. We've got an extraordinary guest coming up in just a second, Emmy-nominated writer, author, and former Bob Hope staff writer, Martha Bolton, and she penned this incredible book with Linda Hope, Bob's daughter, called Dear Bob. We're going to talk more about it in just a couple of seconds here. This really focuses on the GIs, World War II, and all of the support and love and time and attention that Bob gave to the military during World War II, which is legendary. And this book has correspondence and personal notes and incredible photos and extraordinary stories that are shared exclusively with the world for one of the first times ever. And it really is an amazing experience when you have an opportunity to really celebrate something like that. This is the book here. We're celebrating the legacy of Bob Hope tonight on the Jim Masters Show Live. That is the book. Again, Bob Hope's wartime correspondence with GIs of World War II. There's Bob right there front and center. He was famous for his shows, the radio shows, his on-location performances with incredible guest stars, Phyllis Diller, and so many others who joined him as well. Martha Bolton is our very, very special guest, and she had this wonderful relationship with comedy legend Bob Hope, television legend, acting legend Bob Hope, that spanned many, many years. And it's a very poignantly produced and written book, again, that Martha really took a lot of time putting together, again, celebrating Bob and Bob's extraordinary time. Not only, of course, we know him for all of his fabulous entertainment and his comedy and his movies and his television shows and so much more, which are renowned and beloved. But he spent so much time celebrating the troops, especially during World War II. He was very, very involved, and in a way that still to this day is long lasting. So Martha is our very special guest. Again, this is the book. It is an Amazon bestseller. Maybe you saw Martha on not that long ago. She was featured on CBS Sunday Morning on the CBS television network, and much, much more with the book. I think the book, again, is also written and compiled by Martha Bolton along with Linda Hope, who is Bob Hope's daughter. They worked together on this. And this book, actually, the beginning sort of germ of the idea, the inspiring thoughts of the book, started when Bob was still with us, actually. It didn't happen after. It was really in progress when Bob Hope was still with us. And Martha is going to detail that and so much more. We have some wonderful things to share with you. We have some clips and all kinds of incredible things. So Martha is with us here on the show. And she is live from Nashville, Tennessee. First, let's welcome our amazing audience here. We welcome you in style, kind, generous, and supportive you. We thank you very much for joining us here on the Jim Masters Show Live, sharing the links, sharing the levity, and joining us all the time, telling everybody about our entertainment lifestyle talk show series. We truly, truly thank you so very much. The show continues to bowl me over as the host and producer. Wild, beyond my expectations as far as how many people are watching and sharing and enjoying. So we toast all of you tonight. Very nice to have you here. Let's check in quickly with some of our lovely viewers. We have an international audience, and then we will welcome live from Nashville, Tennessee, Martha Bolton on the show. We're so excited to have her here. Welcome, everybody, from all of us here at the Jim Masters Show Live. Crystal Nolan, who's in Connecticut, says, hi, Jim and everyone. Happy Sunday. Hope you had a fantastic weekend. Looking forward to an exciting show with inspiring conversation and levity. You got it. That's what's coming up right now for you, Crystal in Connecticut. In Cleveland, Ohio, Kathy Short. Hello, Jim and Lovity. So nice to be here for another wonderful show. Absolutely. We love when you're here from Cleveland, Kathy. Merlin is here from Innerkip, Ontario, Canada. Nice to see you, Merlin. Hello, Jim and Lovities. Renee Oscom is here from Iowa. Renee, good to have you with us, and welcome once again to the Jim Masters Show Live. Mary Bishop in Florida is here. Hello, Jim and all Lovity friends. Good to see you as well, Mary. We love when you are here. And Wozniak's here, also from Florida. Hi, Jim and Lovities. Hope everyone had an amazing weekend. Absolutely. Good to see you, Anne and Willie, watching in the Netherlands. Hello, everyone. Here is Holland. Absolutely. Also in Iowa, Gary Troyer. Hi, Jim and Lovities. Good to see you as well. Yes, we love it. Hi, Jim and Lovity family. Juanita in South Africa. Nice to have you here, Juanita. We love you when you're here. Hi, Jim, to you, Renee. Cheers from Willie in Holland. Yeah, love this. Everybody's saying hello to each other as well. Linda Odell in St. Augustine, Florida. Good evening, Mr. Lovity. Good evening, Lovities. Good evening to you, Linda. Welcome to our Entertainment Lifestyle Talk Show series once again. And you love Bob Hope and binge their road movies, right? Absolutely. One of the best, a true television comedy acting legend, Bob Hope. And again, he did so much for the troops during World War II and beyond. I love that. Martha already knows about the Lovity situation, that we have Lovity on our show. So I said, expect a Lovity wave of welcome. And she says, bring it on. She's a big believer in our Lovity here. Good evening, Martha. You're a Lovity now. See, already. Cheers coming in from Mary. Happy Sunday, everybody. Hope you're having a good weekend. We really appreciate your being with us. It's always a joy and a blessing when we are together. We've created an extraordinary community here. I get excited when we turn the television lights on and we come together. Again, you know, I do this work professionally in the real world as a television and radio presenter, host, journalist, actor, writer, producer, stage MC, voiceover artist. So great that we have done all these shows together over, I think, 370 now, which is amazing. From North Carolina, USA. Greetings, Jim and Lovity friends. Welcome, author Martha Bolton, to the show tonight. Looking forward to this inspiring or inspirational conversation and Lovity Hall. Absolutely. And Jennifer Barry says, it's a full moon tonight, blessed be. It is a full moon. That's right, it is. Good to see everybody and everybody else that'll be joining us throughout. Those of you who are watching, who aren't commenting, you don't have to comment to be a viewer of our show. And a lot of people also binge watch our episodes later. You can see all of the episodes of our series here on our YouTube channel at Jim Masters TV. Willie is welcoming Martha to the Jim Masters Show. Hope you have fun like us. And Juanita in South Africa is welcome to the show, Martha. Let's welcome Martha to the show right now, live from Nashville, Tennessee. Martha, welcome to the Jim Masters Show Live. You've got all the lovity coming your way from everybody here.
I love it.
Isn't it fantastic?
Oh, it is. It makes your night. It's great.
It really
hello
does.
To all the lovities.
All the lovities. Linda says, good evening, Martha. You're now a lovity.
Oh, awesome.
I mean, I know you've got Emmy nominations and things like that, but when you get a Levity on the Jim Masters Show live,
Hey,
it's something else, isn't it?
that goes right up there with any of the others.
With all the rest. Willie, she in Holland welcomes you as well. She's in Holland where it's like 1 a.m. And Juanita in South Africa welcomes you to the show as well. And Gary in Iowa says, Lovity Martha. You're now Lovity Martha. Hope you're staying safe in Nashville. You actually, the weather was a little tricky in Nashville yesterday, right?
Yeah, last night, all night long, the alarms were going off. So yeah, we had an adventurous night, but today's beautiful.
But
so,
today is beautiful.
Yeah.
Merlin,
which is like life.
that's the way life is. That's right.
Yeah.
You got to take the lumps and also take the lemonade and take the lemons and make lemonade out of it, right?
Yep.
Merlin's in Canada. She says, hello, Martha. Welcome to Levity Hall. You're now a Levity. So I guess it's officially confirmed that you are. Welcome, Martha, from Kathleen in New York City. And Gary in Iowa, Kathy in Cleveland. Welcome, Martha. Nice to have you with us tonight here on the show. This really is fascinating. I showed in the beginning this wonderful relationship that you've had, great friendship, and also you worked with him as a staff writer with Bob Hope. Really, really amazing. And you've penned this amazing book, Dear Bob. Tell us first, before we go to the book, tell us about the years working with Bob Hope and how that relationship, became and grew, and how those opportunities came your way to work with Bob and what that experience was really like. Absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I still can't believe it. But I was writing a comedy for Phyllis Diller and Joan Rivers, and would write a lot of the housekeeping jokes and aging jokes, even though I was in my late 20s.
Phyllis was unbelievable.
She was great.
Oh, they're just the way she could go bang, 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 bang. Yeah. Sort of like a Rodney Dangerfield. And you're still catching your breath from the last joke before here comes another one.
Right. So, and she was so encouraging when I would send her jokes and she'd write little encouraging comments next to the one she was buying. And if there was one that she wasn't, she'd give me a little tip on how to make that better, make that more her or whatever. So she was very encouraging. And same with Joan Rivers. I remember her envelopes would come in the mailbox and they were a pink envelope. So you always knew when you saw that pink envelope that you were hearing back, and she'd have a contract inside with the jokes listed of what she was buying. And so I was having pretty good success with selling to both of those great comedians. And I was also doing roasting different people. I would roast friends of mine if their boss had a event coming up, so they'd want me to roast their boss. I roasted the pastor at our church or anybody else that was having an event. So I just got a lot of. How does that work?
How does that work? How do you get away with roasting a pastor?
No, it was fun. It taught me so much, and I owe so much to those people because they were such an encouragement, and these events just turned into big events, and there was great laughter, and it just encouraged, my joke writing skills and to keep going. And so I started getting encouragement that I should be doing more in Hollywood. And I had kind of wanted to do some sitcom writing, but I didn't know what to do. But I had read this book by a gentleman named Gene Parrott, and he was the creative consultant on Mama's Family and was also a staff writer on the Carol Burnett Show. So I wrote him after I read the book because he did roast. He wrote for Phyllis Diller. I did roast. I wrote for Phyllis Diller. So I just told him that we had this in common, didn't ask for anything. And he called me up and invited me to come down to Mama's Family and see a taping. So I did. My husband and I went down there, and I took a scrapbook that had all of my, I was writing a newspaper column too as well. So it had my newspaper columns, magazine articles that I had written, jokes for Joan and Phyllis. And I had this poor guy have to look through this whole scrapbook out after the show. And so he was so encouraging, and he said that I should be writing in sitcoms and more in Hollywood. And so he encouraged me to write a spec script. And at that moment in my life, my typewriter was not working. So I went down to the library, and for a quarter for 20 minutes, kept putting quarters in, and I wrote out 2 spec scripts for Mama's Family. And I got them to Gene, and then he got them to Ed Simmons, who was the producer. And then Ed called me up one night and said that he was impressed, and he wanted to call me in for the next season and pitch some show ideas and for our script. So what happens in Hollywood, a lot of times you get this incredible excitement, and then the show got canceled. It later came back on, but at that moment, the show got canceled, and I had just done all this work and got it to them, and they couldn't have gone better. They both loved it, but then the show got canceled. So I was down. My hopes were dashed. But what happened was Gene was also a writer for Bob Hope, and I wasn't even expecting this, but he recommended me to Bob Hope. And so he gave me a topic, and I wrote up some jokes. He got them to Bob. And so then came the waiting to hear back. And sure enough, one night, after 11 o'clock at night, the phone rang, and it was Bob Hope. Couldn't believe it, could not believe it. And he told me he liked my work, gave me some more topics. And then I just kept writing for him, and then eventually became his first woman staff writer. So just came on staff.
That's so amazing. I mean, that phone call probably to this day still gives you chills, just because of the specialness of it and the importance of that call for how it changed your life. And I mean, you were writing for these epic people and shows and other things, but to get that call from Bob Hope and for him to trust and rely on your judgment and really appreciate his style of humor and sort of blend what you do with what he does and his delivery and all. So what would be, if you can share with us some examples that people may remember where you wrote the material that we got a chance to see and enjoy?
Well, I worked on all of the, from 83 on to the end, I worked on all the television specials, his personal appearances, the military shows, that he did in the 80s and 90s. So I was with him in the 80s and 90s. So anything that you saw television-wise, or if he was in your area, chances are I wrote for those events, because those were all in my time, the 80s and 90s. So we just hated to see him slow down, but it wasn't so much a health issue, but his eyesight was really was going. So he had this condition where it could bleed in the back, and it had happened once years before, but then his good eye, it was starting to happen, and so it affected him as far as in the taping of the shows and different things where he was trying to read the cue cards and whatnot. But what an amazing man. His last military show was when he was 87 years old, and he's crawling in and out of helicopters and going up as close to the front lines as he could, and having ducking the same incoming that the soldiers are, and is amazing, because at that age he could have been cruising down to Rio and enjoying a wonderful retirement because he had already had a great career and didn't have to do another thing. But if the troops were there, he was going to be there, and he had made a commitment 50 years before that he was going to always be there in his heart for the troops, and he fulfilled it, and just remarkable service to our country.
Absolutely. We actually have a little bit of a clip here, which we're going to show. Was Bob? It's very short, like 30 seconds of Bob doing his thing. And then we'll come back and we'll continue chatting about the legendary Bob Hope and also your wonderful working with him and this extraordinary book, Dear Bob, which is very poignant and beautifully written. And I know, as I mentioned, a bestseller. It's being really, people, you and I were chatting before we went live, people are really craving nostalgia. And this year that we've all experienced, people are watching classic movies, old TV shows, reading past novels, and they're just going back in time because they want to feel good. They want to remember maybe a simpler time. And some of the work that Bob did, of course, gives you that feeling. And you said something about, it's time for hope. and in so many ways, absolutely. And as we celebrate Bob Hope, he really gave back in such extraordinary ways with everything that he did, not just the military, but especially with the military, because, they would, as they would be off in these lands, protecting our freedoms and all. And, they didn't really have any entertainment or lots of connection to back home. So for Bob to roll up the sleeves and others, the USO, right, and to get out there and entertain the troops, and really, he was really prolific with that. And, God bless him for doing that as well, because it made a huge difference. Here's one of the clips during the World War II years with Bob Hope. Doing his thing. It's about 30 seconds or so it goes quick, folks, but enjoy it. And then we'll continue our conversation with Martha Bolton.
Had a great ocean trip, didn't scare us at all. We had a few drinks in Canada, flew blind all the way, and here we are. Halfway across, the pilot turned around and he said, "You a little nervous?" I said, "Yeah, that's only my third time up. He said, "You beat me, this is my first." The only man in the world can kiss a girl and give her the brush off at the same time. There he is. Look at that jungle. Isn't that a beautiful thing? Look at that. Careful, careful. Huh? Snipers.
And he did that for, how many years was it that Bob actually did this work?
50.
50 years.
Yeah, he started at March Field, May 6, 1941, and his last military show, he did the journey over there in 1990, but it aired 1991 January. So 50 years.
What was it like? And yes, Merlin says he loved golf. Yes, he did.
Yes.
And Mary Bishop says my father was in World War II and saw Bob perform. Definitely a highlight of my dad's life. And Linda said he was so great. Absolutely. Jennifer Barry in Allentown, Pennsylvania says military shows had to be awesome. Salute. And Christine Clifton says, welcome to the show. So excited you could join us tonight. You're now at Levity, ready for the interesting, inspiring conversations and stories. Bob Hope. That's really amazing. 50 years of doing that. And it's such a grand and glorious way. He thoroughly enjoyed spending time with the GIs, didn't he?
Oh man, after March Field, he went out and the laughter of the audience, the cheers of the guys and girls, and he loved that audience. They just connected with him. But then through the years, especially the World War II years, and then on war after war, engagement after engagement, they just grew so close to his heart, and it developed into something much deeper. And you could tell in the letters that are sent to him that are in the book that it's not a celebrity fan relationship. these letters are writing to their buddy. These letters, they could ask Bob anything and he would do it for them. And he's writing back to his best friends and his sons and daughters, he called them often. It's a relationship that will just so impress you. His commitment for 50 years, you don't see commitment like that. You know, it's just amazing what he did. He had agreed to one war, but he kept it up and went above and beyond. And that comes through there's funny letters, there's serious letters, and there's historic letters that, you know, will provide a lot of history that you may not have known. And just so much, there's so much in those letters, and it's in their own words, and it's in Bob's words, which, thanks to his secretary, Marjorie Hughes back then, she not only kept the soldiers' letters, but also his response on carbon paper, onion skin paper. Remember all of that?
Oh, yeah.
So luckily she kept all of that. So we have the soldiers' letters and then Bob's response to them. And there's this playfulness back and forth. And this is the photograph on the cover of the letter that we wanted, because it shows that playfulness, that fun, that closeness, the relationship that Bob had with these GIs. And it just kept up. All, you know, from them to their sons and future wars and their sons beyond that, and the grandsons. So he did such a remarkable service. And he was from England. He came over when he was 4. So he was from England, and he says he came over because he found out he couldn't be king, but he could have ran for president, but that was the one thing that was holding him back, is because he wasn't born here. But I think he would have won. I think I have a feeling had he ran, he would have. If he could have ran, he would have won. But you never know. But I think he would have.
How would you describe him? Maybe an aspect of him that we weren't familiar with. I mean, you got a chance to work with him. He really was a class act, wasn't he?
He was, oh man, definitely a class act. When he walked onto the stage, there was just something different about him than other comedians. He just had such a presence. He walked into the room, it was this presence, but it wasn't arrogant. It was confidence. He was a confident guy, but he was friendly. His parties that he would have at his house, everybody came, celebrities, presidents, and he would invite his staff, his working staff, his chef, his gardener, whoever. He invited everybody. Everybody were at the same party, and not working. They were at the party, and he was inclusive. He was just that kind of a friendly guy. And I worked for him for 15 years, and he never said one unkind word to me in 15 years. It's just amazing. Amazing man.
Very blessed. Yeah, very, very blessed. I mentioned the book itself, and congratulations on all the kudos and bestseller and everything that's happening with Dear Bob. I mentioned when I was doing the introduction that this is not something that just popped up recently, you know, beyond his passing. This was actually happening, this book, while Bob was still with us. Tell us about that, the inspiration for Dear Bob.
Well, Linda grew up with the letters, so she always knew about them. I found out about them when I was working for him and had an opportunity to read some for another project. And I went through them and was reading them and could not believe what all I was reading. It was so touching and so inspirational and so massive.
Yeah.
At the height of World War II, Bob Hope was receiving 38,000 fan letters a week. So you can imagine the amount of letters. And so I talked with Bob, and I told him that I thought it would make a great book. And and he agreed, and but it was just that they were so emotional that he couldn't do it, but he suggested that I talk with Linda, and so I did. Linda and I met, and then we discussed it, and
that's his daughter, Linda Hope.
Yes, Linda Hope. And so we discussed it and started, reading through the letters and making choices and whatnot, which was very hard to do because the letters, there were so many and so many great ones. So we got pretty far, but what happens in Hollywood, you get onto, this project comes in and has to take precedence, or this something else. And so we kept working on it as we could. And then unfortunately, Bob passed away, and we didn't know, what we were going to do. But a few years ago, Linda emailed me and said, "You want to get back on that book, and let's finish it up." And I couldn't believe it. I was so excited. And by then I had moved to Tennessee, and the letters, when I was working on them in California, they were at his house, but now they were up at the Library of Congress. So I would go from Tennessee and go up there, and I finished my research, and then finished up the manuscript, would send it back and forth to Linda, and she'd make great suggestions, and we just kept working on it. The University Press of Mississippi came on board to publish it, and we were hoping it would come out last year, but because of COVID and a lot of things getting canceled, it came out. It just came out. So I think really that it's even a better timing, because after last year and everything that we all went through, I think it's we're all looking for hope. We're all looking for what this book brings, that encouragement, that feeling of being together and leaning on each other, and how much we need each other. And so we're very excited that it came out. And Bob Hope was known for his timing, and I think he's still doing it. So it came out, I think, at the perfect time when we all need hope and encouragement.
We have actually one of the letters here, and the book itself is filled with letters and correspondence. Take us through the book, what people can expect when they actually see this book. We just want to show quickly, this is an example of like one of the letters.
And it ends at the end of the war, and then a wrap up of some of Bob's life. But in between, it more follows an emotional format, where there's like the letters where they're missing their mom, they're all together. The letters where I won't be home for Christmas, they're together. The letters where they're complaining about some of the food they have to eat, they're together. So it's divided up like that. So you'll read one after another. There's funny letters, and some of the souvenirs that they would send Bob. There was this one soldier that shaved off his goatee and sent it to him. I don't know what Bob did when he opened up the envelope, but they would do jokes like that on Bob, and then he'd do them back to them. So that was the relationship. And some of the letters even came where they didn't have his address. So they would send it, Bob, and then in quotes, location doubtful, but probably somewhere near Hollywood, California, end of quote, Hope. And it would get to him kind of like Santa Claus, where you just send it and you just hope he gets it. And sure enough, he'd get it. And I love the ones too, where they would say, you probably won't read this. And not only did Bob read it, but now, the world is enjoying it. But they just treated him like their best friend, and it comes across, and the warmth of that relationship is so much deeper. And we would see Bob interact with veterans when they would come to NBC and we're taping a show, and they'd come up to him, and you always knew that he was close to them and that they loved and respected him, and vice versa. But until reading these letters, I had no idea how deep it was, and now you understand it. You can't read this book and not understand why the GIs and Bob Hope were so close.
I would imagine too that it was very moving for you and for Linda Hope, his daughter, as you're going through all the correspondence, you're going through all of these notes and the depth of the emotion wrapped up in it as you were including this material in the book, Dear Bob. What was that like for you personally, and of course for Linda's expression as well?
You go through a lot of tissue. Reading and rereading, because in proofing the book, you have to reread it and reread it and reread it. And every single time there's certain letters that I never could get through them without choking up and crying. They're so moving, and in such a, it's hard to explain, but in such a brave way. They would, even when they would talk about their injuries, they didn't want the attention on that. It would be something incredible that Bob had done, and they were thanking him for it. It just, so that you'd cry for the soldier, and you'd cry because you were so impressed with who Bob Hope was and what he meant to them. And it's an emotional roller coaster to go through the book, but a good one. I mean, all of these tears are in admiration, and you just wish he was still here but he is. I mean, these are his words. These are the soldiers' words, and they're that greatest generation are offering us hope and encouragement, and Bob Hope is offering us hope and encouragement. So their words are still valuable today.
Willie's in Holland. She asks, is the book in other languages? She speaks Dutch. Is it only in English at the moment?
I believe just at the moment it is, but it's going to be in
translated.
Yeah, it's been selling overseas, so I'm sure it'll be available.
How did doing this book about Bob Hope, Dear Bob, enhance what you already thought about Bob? What did you learn along the way? Here you are, you were working with him, you were writing comedy for him. You had this wonderful working relationship, this respect between you and Bob and you, knowing he's a legend and beloved and a great talent, and you've worked with so many extraordinary talents and others along the way. But how did getting even deeper with this, with Bob, with Linda, with you understanding the appreciation that the GIs had for Bob's work, and for the correspondence and the shows, how did it maybe enrich and or enhance some of what you already thought about Bob Hope?
I think the heart. I always knew he was a kind person. I always knew that he was a generous person, beyond the military, just with different causes and different benefits that he would do. We would tape a show, and after this would go on the whole weekend. And he's in my time, he was in his 80s and on, and he would do the taping, and then afterwards he would dismiss the audience. And this would be late at night. It'd be like 10, 11 at night. And he'd dismiss the audience. And then if they wanted to stay, they could. They were welcome to. But he would then, one after another, record messages for benefits and different societies and illnesses and whatnot. Just amazing. He didn't rush through it. He kept going and making them perfect. And just this giving heart. So I always knew he had that, but the depth of his heart came through in the letters from the ones that were in the hospitals and the ones that their letters to him and recounting some kind thing that he had done for them and what they meant for it, what he meant in their recovery. And it's just was amazing that how he used his gift of laughter and how he used that, how he made time to be there. So he used also his time, but not that he had free time, because he had a going career, a major career. He carved out time to make a difference in the world. And those things are just so incredible that a human being does that at the level of celebrity that he was, that he sacrificed what he did and risked what he did, because he had some close calls himself, and risked what he did and kept it up, his loyalty for so long. And if they were going to be there, he was going to be there. And not only in war, but in peace, he kept up the mission of making sure that they were taken care of. And a lot of people might have had the impression that he liked war, but he didn't. And these letters show that war was not a good thing, but he was going to be there for the troops that were willing to lay their life down, and for freedom. And I think that it was just so. I mean, by the time you get to the end of it, was my feeling, and every time I read it, and as I was working on it, and same with Linda, I'm sure, was just wow. That when you think about his life, he just laid it down, everything he had, put it all out there.
Mm. He really, really did, in such a way that, like you said, considering his fame and how in demand he was, and, all the shows and the NBC specials and appearances on the Tonight Show, Johnny Carson, just everything that he did, this wonderful love affair as well, in a deep friendship way with Lucille Ball, right?
Yes, all of those great entertainers that came out of vaudeville, and they would be on the shows, and sometimes even if they weren't booked on the show, they would come down and just hang out. And if Bob went back to his dressing room, then you'd have Milton Berle would go up on stage and do his act, or you'd have Red Buttons, or it's just that all of that group.
Or George Burns.
Yeah, George Burns. The writers we got our picture taken with George Burns. And he told us, and I love this quote, he said, "You work for the nicest man in show business." Isn't that a nice quote? Great guy. But he had everybody on, and you'd get called in to do a line change or something in a sketch. And Bob was so nice. It was like working with your uncle or somebody that nice. But you'd get called in for a sketch, and then here on the sofa, on some of the shows, you'd have like George Burns and Lucille Ball and Milton Berle all sitting there, Danny Thomas, waiting for a line change. And Bob would be in the makeup chair next to him, and you're like, oh my goodness, the comedy legends that are in this room, and you're trying to come up with a line. So pretty incredible, a lot of pressure.
Somebody asked, did he have favorites that he enjoyed performing with when they were overseas? But I would imagine that's a tough question to answer, because he probably loved every single one that took their time to do that.
Absolutely. Now I know his core group that, Jerry Colonna and Francis Langford, Patty Thomas and Tony Romano, that in World War II, they gave as much as he did. And he was very ready to give them due credit. And they were up on stage and ducking the same incoming as he had to. So they were tremendous troopers. And
somebody asked about that, close calls. There were close calls then when Bob was there, huh?
Oh yeah, there's letters that talk about it, that, you know, they remember this night, and we all had to go into the bunker. We all had to do this. And he even had a plane crash. The whole troop was in a plane crash in Australia and went down, kind of like a Sully, you know, Captain Sully. The pilot had to land. Well, Bob had been out at the wheel, but then one of the engines went out, and the pilot, you know, took it over real fast. But he had to land in the river, and and then they stopped. You know, they stopped came to stop, and they had a boat come out and get them, and all of them coming down. There's pictures of it in the book. And Bob was told later that had they hit the sandbar first, they would have exploded. So he had a lot of close calls.
What would be another story maybe you would like to share? You have the book with you too, right?
Yeah, I do. I do.
Is there anything from the book that you might want to like read to us, like a quick section or something from the book? Would love that.
Sure. There's this one that I just think is so sweet, but it's also, you know, a touching one. Dear Bob, I'm writing to you because my husband was one of the soldiers you brought a little of home to in Sicily. It was the only entertainment he had during his 9 months of active service overseas, and now he will never see another. Yes, I mean that he was killed in action. He didn't die a hero. He never did anything spectacular. He just did his duty as best he could. His name will never go down in history as being great, and yet he was to me, and I am very proud of him. I received a letter from his commanding officer telling me what happened. It seems that night of March 17th, they were on the front line at Anzio waiting to be relieved. Pete, my husband, was out of his foxhole checking on the men in his platoon to see that they were ready to leave the minute the relieving unit arrived. Before he could get back to his foxhole, the Germans fired several rounds of artillery. One hit close to Pete, and several pieces of shrapnel lodged in Pete's chest. I'm told that he died instantly. Pete, or Staff Sergeant Melvin E. Peterson, was one of the finest men that ever lived, and he will always live in the minds and hearts of his friends and loved ones. My husband was like millions of others. He didn't want to leave home and go to war, but there was a job to do, and he was never one to shirk, so he went cheerfully. I wrote to you because my husband wrote me of the show he saw with you and Miss Langford. You seem like a friend, and you saw him since I did. I guess that's why I've told you all about it. Sincerely, Mrs. Harriet Peterson.
That's very, very moving, very, very touching. And yeah, I mean, I would imagine too, in putting this book together, you and Linda, his daughter, Linda Hope, also felt this, as joyous as it was to do it, labor of love, there was a certain responsibility, maybe a certain weight on the shoulders to get it right, to pay, homage to it in a way that is respectful and really brings to bear the work that Bob did, but also how open he was and the GIs were and their families in this back and forth. So I would imagine that you felt this awesome responsibility as you were reading these and including them in this book, Dear Bob. That must have felt amazing. I mean, beautiful, but also this is history, a piece of history that's being preserved within the book. So it was an awesome responsibility for you and Linda as much as it was a joyous one, right?
Right. And it came from a tremendous amount of respect and love and appreciation for what they all sacrificed, including Bob and his family. Because the kids and Dolores we're just as much a part of it as Bob was, as far as putting your heart into it,
People are saying, Juanita in South Africa, wow, powerful letter. Kathleen in New York City saying very touching. Linda in Florida saying such a touching story. Many of them have said they're going to get the book. They want to. What a beautiful letter. I like that. Rest in power, sir. That's really nice. Willie in Holland is also sharing her love of it. And that's, again, very, very touching, very, very moving. And what's the response been? I know in terms of like the nuts and bolts of it, best selling and selling well and all of those things, but not really the reason why you wrote the book. What has the response been from people, the feedback? I'm sure it's got to be extraordinary.
What was so gratifying to me that I keep hearing is people thanking us for doing it, and that it's coming out in such a time that we all need it, and to be reminded of the sacrifice. That's the thing that's so easy to forget sometimes, is the great sacrifice of not only time and comfort and life and family, but they sacrifice so much. And today we think we're sacrificing if the air conditioning in the car went out. It's just such gratitude that people are feeling for all of those that gave so much.
What would be something else maybe that you can share from the book that would surprise people about Bob and maybe this scenario?
Well, I think the way that the whole world, everybody pitched in on, Hollywood pitched in to help the, raising war bonds and entertaining. Just everybody, people grew. Well, they had they had where they were restricting sugar or rubber or steel, but everybody was doing it. Everybody was participating. They'd grow extra food for the soldiers, do without if the soldiers needed it. They just all supported it. I think that was so encouraging to see, that everybody knew they needed each other to get through this, and they just all cooperated. Even the Emmys, the Oscars, they because everybody was doing without for 3 years, they didn't give out their 24 karat plated statuettes. They made them out of plaster and painted them gold, and then when it was over, the stars could turn them in and get the real thing. And I didn't know about that. That was pretty incredible. But they didn't think that everybody would want to see the extravagance when everybody was doing without. So it was all a team effort. Everybody was doing their share, and the world got through it.
Absolutely. Linda Odell in Florida says, Bob Hope meant so much to so many people. Thank you, Martha, for your part in bringing Bob's love through your writings. I'm sure you're getting that kind of response as well, you and Linda, huh?
Yes, yeah. They, I think everybody, which is what we wanted, everybody is seeing his heart and his love. It's coming through. It comes through in their words. It comes through in our words. It comes through in his words. You finish the book and you feel hugged by Bob Hope.
You feel the levity.
Yes, the levity. Yes, he was the number one levity.
Absolutely. So, what was it like when you finished that last sentence in the book? How did you know when to end it? How did you know when to wrap it? Because one of the hardest things in doing anything creative is knowing when to begin and how to begin it. and to know when to effectively and efficiently end it. And you probably had so much material. You probably could have written numerous books, actually, not that there wouldn't be a second or third, but sifting through the material and doing the editing, and that's just as hard sometimes as the actual writing process too, right?
Right. The book it would grow, and then we'd have to pare it down, and then it would grow again, and then we'd have to pare it down. I knew what I wanted as far as what I was looking for, and to find letters that may have said something like this or may have said something like that. And then you'd find those, but then you'd come across one that you weren't expecting, and you're, oh, well, that's got to go in, and as far as the ending, I had ended it several different ways, but as with most of my other writing, is when it comes, it. And there was that one moment where, okay, and it just flowed, and I just knew that was the ending. So,
do you see another book coming, or was this one really touched upon everything that needed to be touched upon?
Well, it does cover toward the end. It has a little bit of a wrap up on his entire career, but there's so much to Bob Hope that I would like to, and we're hoping that we can do this, is to have like a Korea and the Cold War be a second book, and then Vietnam and Desert Storm be a third book. So to have it like a trilogy, what I would like to do. So we'll see if that happens. But I think there's interest in it, so for sure.
Have you heard from any of the other, contemporaries that are still around, that were friends of Bob's or performed with Bob, in terms of, wow, that, to take the time to actually put a book like this together is such a beautiful thing? Any feedback from the celebrity community as much as the public?
Yeah, that's starting to come in now as I send them their books and whatnot. And the ones that were so gracious and gave us stories for the book, like Norman Lear, and just so many great people that served in the war, and were so kind to give us their stories. And I'm also hearing from some of the celebrities that were in the later wars that want to be included in the next one, as we move on. If that would be awesome. So hopefully you can look for that in the future. But right now, this is the World War II part of it, and there's so much to the story, and so many people that there's such respect for Bob Hope. There really is, and that comes through by so many different people, so many different countries. He just touched so many lives that there's just no boundary to his influence and the respect that people have for him.
What would you say you hope people are left with when and upon reading this book? Somebody perhaps that, maybe even somebody in a younger generation where they weren't as familiar with Bob when Bob was here, but they have an understanding of this American treasure, this legend, and the sacrifice, the giving back, there's a message here that goes even beyond the actual letters and some of the material. It's an overall message of giving back and helping one another and being empathetic, compassionate, unifying, all the things you hear people talking about, especially after everything we went through and continue to go through in the last 12 months or so. So even somebody in a younger generation who might not have been as familiar with Bob during the heydays could really learn about life through this book, and about sacrifice and giving of oneself, no matter whether you have $2 in your wallet or $2 million in the bank. It doesn't matter. It's still an important thing to do. What do you hope people are left with when reading this book?
The difference that one person can make in the world. And Bob Hope was a high school dropout. He before he made it big, he was flat broke, and he not only achieved career-wise in every division of show business, radio, television, movies, Broadway. He was the top. He was the lead box office draw in all of those. And then not only did he do all of that, then he did this incredible service, selfless service to the military. And then he was honored by number one, he says he performed for 11 presidents and entertained 6. So lines, but presidents honored him with the highest honors in the land. He was knighted. He was given the highest honors around. He was the entertainer of the century. He has been by Guinness Book of World Records the most honored and publicly acclaimed human being in the history of the human race, as far as a human being. And he's just one man. And like I said, he had a rough start, but one man absolutely turned his life around and changed the world, and continues to by his words, and he's still encouraging us.
I bet you miss him greatly.
Oh, absolutely. There'll never be another Bob Hope. It can't be done. Just because of the way things are today, as far as the entertainment, where he just, like I said, each of the 4 different divisions, it's so hard today to duplicate what he did. But it'll be done in a different way by somebody else that takes the challenge, and no matter what's in their past, no matter where, they got, like you say, they got $2 in the bank. It's just making that decision to make a difference and make the world a better place.
How has your knowing Bob changed your life, Martha?
Wow, in so many ways. He was so encouraging to my work, so professionally. The doors that he opened for me, they were just unbelievable. I could have never imagined that I would be where, I was a church secretary is where I started doing comedy, and then just kept on going, different comedians. And then he opened this amazing door, and he taught me so much, though, about life, that I so appreciate, that just watching him. And we could all do it by just watching and learning about what he did. And so much of it is in the book, and you could see it, that he did the same with the soldiers, just the little words that if you take his words and live by them, it'll make your life better. And even if life doesn't go good, because it doesn't go good for a lot of us, you feel good about it. He went to bed at night and he felt good about what he had done for people, and for, just what he had done his best work, and gave as much as he could. And he slept good at night, I'm sure.
What do you think he would say today if he saw the finished book that you and his daughter, Linda Hope, penned?
I definitely think, because he would do this after a show went well and whatnot, so I could hear his voice in my ear, and he definitely would have some very kind comments to make, and he'd probably say, you really did it, kid. He was he was in awe of his own life. When Dolores remodeled their house up in his office, she extended his office, and there was this hallway outside of where he sat, outside of his desk, and so he was showing me the pictures along the wall as we walked along the wall, as we walked along the hallway, and he was pointing this president out, and that president out, this king, this queen, and him with them. And we got down to the end of at the end of the hallway, and he stopped and he just looked at me and he goes, "It's something, isn't it, Martha? It really is something." So, I mean, he was in awe of what his life was about, and how the good fortune that he had, and he knew he lived a blessed life, and amazing to make it to 100. Even that is an accomplishment.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Something in the water he drank, as well as George Burns too, making it that far.
He did drink cranberry juice, so maybe there's something to that. But
and we have some in our refrigerators, so we're going to have some tonight. We're going to have it every day. You know, when you really think about it,
he didn't hang on to things either. He let things go. He didn't hang on to things.
So he kept moving forward on his life's journey. If there was something that didn't go well or went awry, he just kept with a forward movement, which is really the way we should all do it, right?
Right. He also was right on the next project. He would come home from having done a show overseas or whatever, and he'd come home, or he'd be like at the airport still. As soon as he got off the plane, he'd call up and say, "Okay, what are we going to do for the next show?" It was immediate. There was no downtime. It was immediate. We were working on the next thing.
You mentioned Dolores. Was Dolores, did she have any involvement with this process?
This one at the beginning, no. It was mainly with Bob, and then through Bob and Linda would know about it. But and then unfortunately, she passed away before we could come out with it too. But they were married 69 years. They were married 69 years. That's another thing. It just, it's pretty incredible. Just all the things that you could tick off down in his life that he accomplished, and just an incredible person. It was a lot was put into him, but he also used it well and gave it right back. He didn't sit on talent. He didn't sit on the gifts that he had, or money that could be helping other people. It was this constant flow of talent, of his resources, of his hopes and the future, just constantly flowing the whole 100 years.
Maureen in Arizona says, if levity had a definition, it would speak about spreading kindness, love, and peace. See Bob Hope. Absolutely. Babette says, Jim, you're curing my nostalgic blues, the area of those who made Hollywood great. Thank you, Martha, for sharing. Marty Thompson in Nashville, actually. Babette and Marty are in Nashville. Marty's originally from Australia. He's also an entertainer. Do you know what Bob's favorite movie was, and maybe a favorite that you had of his?
His favorite, and it's mine as well, but the Seven Little Boys, I believe, would say that it was his favorite. I believe, and that was Sorrowful Jones, maybe.
Sorrowful Jones, yes, that's with Lucy, right?
Yeah,
Lucille Ball. They had a wonderful relationship. Lucy, as I mentioned earlier, Lucy and Bob Hope, and Bing Crosby and Bob Hope, and again, that whole genre of Hollywood, that whole legendary legacy of Hollywood is really something that has gone by the wayside, and that's why it's so wonderful to to remember and to savor and to cherish, the pioneers, those who've paved the way really for everybody else to be able to do what they're doing today, and making all these sacrifices. And in this book, through photos and archival material and the correspondence from the GIs back and forth between Bob and these GIs, it's really extraordinary. And I say this is actually not just a book to read and be entertained by, but this is a piece of history. This is really a historic amalgamation of incredible material for us to really, there might be some people who just knew bits and pieces of what Bob was doing with the GIs overseas and entertaining them, and that didn't know there was all this correspondence back and forth and all of this joy and hope. They might have just seen the entertainment part of it. Oh, yeah, they put on a nice show and a fabulous show, but there was all of this continued relationship with the GIs. And this book really sort of reveals that and celebrates that in a glorious way, right?
Oh, absolutely. And then there's the whole section of when he would go into the hospitals and from bed to bed and make those kids forget for a moment, forget about what they are going through, and make them laugh, give them something to other than their injuries and other than their fear. In fact, they would write him and tell him, thanking him for giving them the courage to face whatever it was they were having to face, or a decision. There's this one kid who Bob was coming down the aisle and he heard him, and he did not want to interact because he had just been given the worst news of his life, that he could either keep the legs that he had and possibly never walk again, or have them amputated and then have the possibility of walking with a prosthetic. But he, after Bob came up and told him, I bet you're glad you didn't have to come down and see the show today. And the kid just burst out into laughter. He said, "You did not say what I was expecting you to say," and all the pity and all that. And it just turned his life around. It just, these letters, especially from the hospitals, are just so moving. And they had to just, as far as Bob's heart, just melted every time he read them.
Oh, yeah. I don't doubt that. Marty Thompson asks, I so loved the Road to movies. Did you get to meet Ben Crosby, you yourself?
No, I didn't. And I wished I had, but that was before my time.
Yeah.
But his wife, Catherine Crosby, did do a piece on endorsement on the book. So
that's incredible. So for those joining us late, just a little bit on you. You have a prolific writing background. Of course, you were a staff writer with Bob, creating so much of the comedy that we enjoyed. You worked with Phyllis Diller. Tell us some more about your legacy and some of the incredible people you've worked with and some of your background as well, Martha.
Well, I wrote for Phyllis and Joan Rivers before Bob Hope. So that was kind of my training ground, but they were wonderful to work with and so encouraging. Both of them were very encouraging, and just, it's so funny. Had they not been encouraging, I probably would have continued. But when these legends, and they all were that way, they were so giving. To give back, to keep it going, a young comedy writer to help build my confidence up. They would just write these nice notes next to the jokes, and it just kept me going. If you get this nice note from Phyllis Diller said this about my joke, or Joan Rivers said this. So I could look back now and I could see that's the path that I was supposed to go, because all these things just played into the direction that I went, and then ended up getting recommended to Bob, and then.
You never met Fang, did you?
Oh, yeah.
Phyllis Tiller's famous Fang, her husband, Fang.
A lot of fun with all of those characters and all of her aging, a lot of aging jokes I wrote for her. It was fun. She was great. And then she'd come on Bob's show a lot of times. And so I'd get to interact with both of them there. So that was always a treat when she would come. But what a sweetheart.
When you're a writer, and then you have either actors and actresses performing the words that you've written and interpreting them, or in this case, comedians and comedians taking your wit and then delivering it in a certain way that just really nails it and almost takes it to another level. What is that like for you as the writer when Bob Hope, said the lines that you wrote and maybe, made him his own, but still the inspiration and everything came from you initially and others. Same thing with a Joan Rivers, same thing with a Phyllis Diller and others. What is that feeling like when you see them on stage or you see them in movies or on television or specials and they're delivering the lines, the comedy that you thought up, and then they nail it and the audience goes wild and loves it? That for you as the writer of those words that are then spoken and interpreted must be extraordinary. And you must be laughing along with how a Phyllis Diller, Bob Hope would take these lines and then deliver them in such a spot on way that was tough to match.
Yeah. Number one, you were so honored that they were even looking at your material, much less picking it. And then when, like at the Bob Hope specials, the writers would stand on the side of the stage, and every time we heard one of our jokes, if it played well and it got a great laugh, then we'd nudge the writer next to us and say, well, that, just kind of like point to yourself, and that was one of mine, or whatever. And if it didn't get anything, then you just kind of looked around the room and never had eye contact with anybody. But I can't tell you, I can't describe how exciting it was, because it never got old. Every time you heard Bob Hope saying one of your lines, it was so exciting. And it every time was just as exciting as the time before. And I would go home and then circle all the ones that, I'd take my papers that I had turned in, and then I'd go along and circle it, or I'd have the script and then just circle the ones that he had done. And I'm like, oh, that's cool, and like you say, if it, whatever inflection he gave or did something in his way, but it never got tired. It was so exciting. The first time I heard Joan Rivers do a line of mine, she was on the Tonight Show. And I didn't even know that it had gotten sold, because she used to send her contract in a pink envelope. So I got to where I always knew that was her envelope in the mailbox. But I didn't know that it had sold. And so I was just waiting to hear back. And sure enough, I'm watching the Tonight Show, and she said one of my lines, and I couldn't believe it. That was so exciting. So.
Do you remember the line?
I knew as I'm saying this, I'm going, he's going to ask me what line. But
can we talk?
I remember the moment that it happened, and I'll never forget it. I remember, standing on the side of the stage and watching Bob do it. Mm. And you're just like, especially in the meetings, that's where I would just be so overwhelmed. I'd be sitting here and just could not believe that was Bob Hope sitting at the other end of the table. And then you'd go to some event in a football stadium, and they're having a flyover and a marching band and paying Bob Hope tribute. And then you knew who you were writing for, or you're at some event and the presidents are there, and you go, oh, okay, that's what I'm writing for.
Did you ever think of going into comedy yourself as a performer?
You know, I've done like roasting. I would get up and tell jokes, and you know, that kind of thing. And I've done speaking, and then telling Bob Hope stories and Phyllis Diller stories and different things at different events. So I've done that, and I had to work up to that because I'm typically a shy person. So I really had to work up to that. But I feel most comfortable at the typewriter, at the computer now. But that's just where my heart is. I've always been a writer since I was 9, and that's just in me to do it all on the paper. And
You come from a comedic family. Where do you think your timing and the wit comes from?
my parents enjoyed a good laugh. My dad had a dry wit, and he was very funny. And my mom loved jokes and would come home and tell jokes that she had heard. And my mom was great. I remember when she came down to the show, and she's up in the audience watching the show, and there was this Bob comes out and he starts doing his monologue, and there's this lady that is like kind of throwing him off a little bit because she's laughing and clapping at every joke. And you know how for a comedian, they're doing their act, and you know, if every 10th joke you may get a clap, or if you're, you know, and you'd be happy. But she's clapping at every single one. So I'm hoping that it's not throwing it off for my mom's enjoyment. And I look out in the audience to see where the lady is. And even Bob is kind of laughing about it because it's getting now to be a little comical because it's every joke.
Who could that be?
So I look out there and it's my mom. She's the one doing it. So afterwards, you know, I'm laughing about it, and I said, you know, so that was you. You were the one doing that, you know. And she goes, well, yeah, I didn't know which jokes were yours, so I just clapped at all of them. So that was pretty special.
Mm-hmm. That is funny. That is funny. I want to remind people of this extraordinary book. It is a must-have. It's something you're going to go back to again and again and again. You'll read it once, and then you'll read it again and again and pick up different nuances you might have missed the first time. Dear Bob, Bob Hope's wartime correspondence with the GIs of World War II, written and compiled by Martha Bolton, our very special guest, Emmy-nominated writer and author, former Bob Hope staff writer. Also, as she just mentioned, wrote for Phyllis Diller and Joan Rivers and other incredible legends. And this also written and compiled with Linda Hope, Bob Hope's daughter, as well. And Martha, as you can see, a wonderful relationship over the years with Bob, and Bob giving so much of himself, not just, you know, on television and in movies and stage and comedy and all the performances, but during some really important times in our nation's history, and something really a true treasure. And again, Martha has, along with Linda Hope, put this all down on paper and did all the research. I mean, that alone, the research alone, to be able to get the material and compile it must have been really intense, Martha.
Yeah, there was a lot of 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning writing sessions. It would go in late at night, and but you're driven like he was in living it. I'm just telling about it, so you're driven to do it and do the best job you can, and really pay him tribute.
I know. Marty says, I know you had many. However, what did you think was the funniest line you felt you wrote for Bob? Is there one joke or one line that stands out that is one of your favorites?
Well, a couple that just come to mind. I don't know if I have favorites because you just enjoy them all.
They're all like your children, like your babies. Yeah.
But when California had an earthquake years ago, And so that was the assignment, was to write earthquake jokes. And so I wrote, my house is still up on a hill, but my view just got lowered. And then when NBC, the street, when they changed the name of it to Bob Hope Drive, it used to be Catalina Avenue, I think it was. And they changed it to Bob Hope Drive, and they had this big press event. And so one of the lines I wrote for Bob that he used was, it's an honor to have a street named after me, especially since all the oceans were taken. So that was fun. And then the Kentucky Fried Chicken commercial convention, and I wrote, I knew right away I was at a Kentucky Fried Chicken convention. As soon as I walked in the door, nobody shakes your hand, they just lick your fingers. Those were just coming off the top of my head. One of the funniest events well, there's several. If I get into all the Bob Hope stories, but there was this one memorable assignment we had, that he was going to be appearing at a psychiatrist convention. So we wrote material. He took it, had it all ready. He gets on the plane, he goes. And then he gets there and he realizes it's not a psychiatrist convention, it's a chiropractor's convention. So we got the call and we had to write all new material before we walked onto the stage. And it was probably like 15, 20 minutes. We had to come up with a whole new routine. But that
must have been backbreaking work.
Oh, I learned how to write fast under Bob.
Unintended.
Forget it. Good one. But no, that was good. That was good. There's another one of my favorite stories. He used to call us at all hours of the day or night because he was in different time zones. Plus, nighttime didn't mean much to him, I don't think. So it was nothing to get a call at 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. So this one time, he calls this one writer, and his wife picks up the phone. And he says, is your husband there? And she just didn't have the heart to wake him up yet again. And so so she thinks for a moment, and then she says, well, no, he told me he was going to be with you tonight. And so there's this pause, and then Bob says, oh yeah, here he comes now. So he was always quick. So
Quick-witted.
Yeah.
It's my favorite kind of humor. And also when you're an observer of life, when you can respond immediately to things you see going on around you and have a quick line.
Yeah.
I have that. It came from my father. He has that as well. You can be in a supermarket line or on an airport line or on a bus or anything, and just observe what you're observing, the craziness of life, and come up with comedy that is related to what you're observing.
Yeah. I remember this one banquet we went to, and we, Hope would get like a table, and then we'd have the writers at his table, which was really a treat. And I was so excited because the other writers let me sit down next to him. And so I thought, oh, well, that's really sweet. And I was so excited. And then I realized why they were doing it is because Bob, during exactly what you're saying, during the event, something would happen and he'd lean over and say, hey, give me a few lines on that such and such, or something was in the news and get me. So you didn't enjoy your meal after that. Once he said that, and that's all you thought about, and they could be bringing filet mignon or whatever, but your mind is on getting something that he's going to get up and say. So you couldn't eat. You'd have to sit there and work. So I thought that was pretty funny that they would do that. We had a great team that we worked with. Oh, such great guys. And
you stay in touch with any of them?
Oh yeah. We've had we had a Bob Hope writer reunion, and we definitely stay in touch and support each other's projects. And Gene endorsed this book, and And, we've all been connected over the internet, email, and going back and forth with different things that happened with either their book or my book, or so we went through a lot together. So
Yeah.
a lot of years together. So they're great people, and they just were so so welcoming, and opening doors for me. And like I said, I tended to be shy, so I would hold back, and then they'd come on, go with us. We're going into his dressing room, and sell him some lines, or go talk to this star, and take these jokes to her, and take this or whatever we had come up with. Well, you go take it to her. They just did things like that all the time, that just helped me get more used to it, and just were a wonderful crew to work with.
Absolutely. Absolutely. This was really a joy, Martha, getting a chance to really learn a little bit more, and our audience as well around the world, about this comedic legend and treasure, Bob Hope, and of course your relationship with him as a staff writer, comedy writer, putting together this extraordinary book, which again is really a piece of history, as much as it is entertaining and probably very emotional. Just the fact that it's all documented in such a way, with the passages, the correspondence, the photos, the written word of yours and Linda Hope's. This really is legacy work for, celebrating Bob, but also for you and Linda as well. And I'm sure it was a blessing for Linda to be a part of it too, considering, the love she and her dad together. So we encourage folks, there it is again, Dear Bob Hope's wartime correspondence with the GIs of World War II, written and compiled by Martha Bolton, our very special guest, and Linda Hope, daughter of Bob. This was amazing, truly. And thanks for spending all of this time with us, Martha, and sharing not only great information as far as the book, but a little bit more about your wonderful friend, Bob Hope, and also a little bit more about you and your experience, because I like people to really understand who, the person is behind what we're celebrating as well. And there you are, have written so much great material for Bob, and now continuing that wonderful friendship with the book as well. This was a joy, and I certainly hope the show met whatever expectations you had, and that you will come back. We would love to have you back, and I hope you enjoyed the time with me as much as I certainly have with you and with our Lovities.
Absolutely, and I am now a Lovity, so I will definitely be back.
You are a Lovity, absolutely. Maureen says, this was a step back in time for me, remembering when my parents watched Bob's specials, entertaining the troops. Now I get it. And now the next time you see re-airs of some of those Bob Hope specials and things of that nature, or Phyllis Stiller, Joan Rivers, you're going to be thinking about Martha even more. Mary Bishop says, good night, Martha. Thank you for all the stories. Take care. Bernadette Videla says, must get the book. And thank you. Absolutely, Bernadette. I agree. Juanita in South Africa says, great show. Thank you, Martha, for sharing the book and your great stories with us. And Kathy Short in Cleveland, Ohio says, a great evening tonight, Martha. Thank you for sharing so much with us. And not just tonight, but all of the comedic material over the years too. We thank you and thank you and thank you. Thanks again for all the time, Martha, and you're welcome back. And my sidekick, sort of my Ed McMahon, George Burns says, have a good night as well. He's got a cigar. Isn't that cool?
I love it.
He says, thanks for the memories. And Mona in Louisiana, USA, thank you so much for sharing Bob Hope's story and your stories. So nice to meet you. Martha, this was really, really extra special. Thanks for all of the time. You are a Lovity. Let's stay connected. I would love to stay connected. And maybe if I'm on a TV shoot out, your way, or you're on the East Coast, let me know. Maybe we'll be able to break bread. That would be a pleasure.
Oh, that would be good. Okay.
You be well, and continued success with the book. And the book, Amazon and all other locations. You have a wonderful website as well that people can check out, right?
Yeah, marthabolton.com. And and then just they should be able to get the book at any Amazon or any brick and mortar store, and if they're open, support them, and just excited for them to read it and let me know what they think. That would be awesome.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You be well, stay healthy, and you take care, Martha. And again, thanks for joining me as my guest on the Jim Masters Show Live. We truly, truly enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Be well. Take care. And stay funny. Stay funny. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
Martha Bolton, incredible individual, Emmy-nominated writer, author of Dear Bob. Again, we'll show it to you again so you can go and check it out on Amazon and everywhere else. And her website, marthabolton.com. Really an amazing book. Again, Bob Hope's Wartime Correspondence with the GIs of World War II, written and compiled by Martha Bolton and Linda Hope, Bob Hope's daughter. And again, you got a chance to hear about her wonderful friendship with Bob over the years. They worked together. She wrote a lot of the jokes with the other comedy writers over the years in the 80s, 90s, those NBC specials, you remember. And of course, she also worked with Phyllis Diller, who I really loved as well, and as well, Joan Rivers. But here are some of the beautiful shots from Bob's years of doing what he did out of the goodness of his heart as well, because we know him as a wonderful comedian and actor and host and all of it, and golfer. Bob Hope's Celebrity Classic. So wonderful tonight on the Jim Masters Show Live to celebrate this comedy legend, Bob Hope, and some of the other work that he did, again, in this case, for the GIs. We thank, once again, our very special guest, Martha Bolton, prolific writer, Emmy-nominated author, and Bob Hope, former Bob Hope staff writer, for joining us here on the Jim Masters Show Live. Hope you guys enjoyed it as well, probably learned something different, or maybe enhanced your appreciation of Bob Hope and his comedy and all the wonderful things he did giving back, and learned about Martha Bolton as well, and this incredible book, and the fact that she wrote a good deal of the comedy that you enjoyed over the years. Kathleen Walker says, this was fun. Thanks, Jim. My pleasure. My pleasure. And really had a fabulous time. Want to let you know as well, tomorrow we have a certified hypnotist coming on. Yes, John Mongiovi. He's coming with us tomorrow, coming on the show tomorrow, and he is incredible. We're going to have a really amazing time with him. That's 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. He will be joining us here exclusively on the Jim Masters Show Live. And then we've got a bevy of incredible guests all week long next week. So really some cool things that are coming up here on the show. We love having all of you here. We love having an opportunity to connect with you daily as we do for our daily dose of levity, light, and good times on the Jim Masters Show Live. Lovely. Thanks, Jim. Good night, everyone. You as well, Juanita. Babette says, Jim, you never disappoint. Another beautiful show. Thank you so much for what you do. Thank you very much, Babette. And thank you, Juanita. Mona, thank you. Thanks, Jim. Great show tonight. Thank you. Mary, good night, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your evening. You as well. Thanks for another great show, Jim. Thank you, Renee. Marty Thompson says, once again, a great essence of great stories and memories of good people. I feel like you were both in my living room, kicking back with a couple of drinks and friends. That is perfect. Bernadette says, good night, everyone, and please stay safe and stay well. Thanks, Jim. My pleasure, Bernadette. You as well, and I hope you're doing well. And thanks for joining us tonight as well. What a fantastic way to end the weekend. Thank you, Jim, for bringing Martha in to share her wonderful stories of working with such a beautiful soul that was Mr. Bob Hope. Thank you, Maureen. Good night, Jim, and all lovelies to you as well, Gary. This was terrific, gang. We've got a wonderful hypnotist, John Mongiovi, coming with us tomorrow. He's from New York. It's going to be incredible. He's going to do some really amazing things. And then we've just got an epic array of guests all week long. So join us, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. Share our YouTube channel with everybody. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. We would love that. That does help the show. This was an inspirational show with Martha. We learned so much more about the life and all the many accomplishments for decades. Of course, at Bob Hope, one person sure can make a difference. That's so true, Christine. Bob Hope is a lovety as well. Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree. 110%. Thanks, gang, for joining us tonight on the Jim Masters Show Live. Speaking of levity, don't forget to smile. We always say that. Don't forget to smile. Very important to do that as often as you can, even on those days that are bleak. If you're ever having a bad day, just binge watch the episodes of the Jim Masters Show Live, and I think it might perk up your spirit. Share the levity as often as you can. Of course, as we say, find your Zen place. Find the constants in life. Mine is the ocean, swimming, surfing, boogie boarding, sailing it, walking in it, floating it. We live near the ocean, so we're very blessed here. However, time with loving family and friends is my ultimate Zen place. And then, of course, my work in television and radio and stage all these years, also Zen for me as well. So find your Zen moments and crave them, share them, and celebrate them. If you didn't get a chance to see last night's episode with George Chakiris, legendary Hollywood dancer and actor, Oscar-winning and Golden Globe-winning performer. He starred in West Side Story and so many other incredible films. Check it out. It's on our YouTube channel at JimmasterSTV. A lot of people enjoying it. He was with us last night. We had an epic conversation. And earlier in the day yesterday, Neil Byrne from Celtic Thunder joined us. He's with Ryan in Byrne and Kelly. Terrific performer. A lot of people watching that episode right now in the archives as much as watched yesterday. You can see that again. Those of you who love Celtic Thunder and the Irish artist, Ryan Kelly, we just confirmed it today with my buddy Ryan. Ryan is going to be with us on Sunday, April 18th at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. in Ireland, Scotland, and England. Ryan Kelly from Celtic Thunder is going to be with us. Dee Wallace is joining us as well very soon, just a couple of weeks from now. And don't forget, the Jim Masters Show Live is available for you in the archives 24/7, 365 at our YouTube channel, Jim Masters TV. And while you're there, we would love it if you subscribe to the channel. Click the notification bell so you don't miss any of the content on the channel. And we are here live daily at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific on our YouTube channel. We love you all. Good night, Mr. Levity. Good night, Levities from Linda Odell in Florida. Kathleen Walker. Hope you have a great night. Stay safe. Good night, all. You as well. Good night, all, from Renee. Yeah, it's really wonderful having all of you here. And we thank you so much for all of your time and attention, whether you're watching live or watching later on in the archives. We bid you all a wonderful rest of your evening. Kind, generous, supportive you. This came from Karen Campbell Green in Nova Scotia, one of the gifts that she sent along, which we really, really thank her for. And we thank all of you for making this a wonderful evening. Whenever you're here, it's a wonderful evening. If you didn't see on Friday, we also had legendary and renowned legal expert Stan Goldman. Stan Goldman was somebody that you saw on CBS, NBC, CNBC, Fox, and so much more. Covered the Michael Jackson trial and O.J. Simpson and Timothy McVeigh and so many others. We had an epic conversation with Stan live from Los Angeles on Friday night. So you can check past episodes as well as looking forward to future episodes. Good night, Mr. Levity. Good night, Levities, as well. Yay, Ryan, and you're looking forward to being hypnotized tomorrow. Yes, board certified hypnotist and so much more. John Monjovi is going to be with us live. It's going to be an amazing show Monday here on the Jim Masters Show Live. Don't forget as well, we always say here on the program something really, really important. To relax, to love one another, and to love yourself, not in a narcissistic, egotistical way, but in a way that reminds you that you are of great value. We say here on the show, doesn't matter your zip code, your income, your height, your weight, your political influences, or your religious beliefs, or anything else. Everybody's welcome here on the Jim Masters Show Live. Entertainment, lifestyle, talk show series, bringing back the lost art of conversation with a modern twist. Relax, breathe. You guys have a great rest of your day. we loved having Martha here, and we loved having all of you here as well. So you're the best, gang. We send you levity and all the blessings for joy and happiness in your life. We'll be back tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, on our YouTube channel, Jim Masters TV. I hope you're here as well. Have a good night. Love you all. Bye-bye.